Well, hello to you all beautiful freedom fighters wherever you are on this planet. Let's talk about the latest update we have from Paris, France and the Charles de Gaulle airport. Last night we had some chaotic scenes which we will be showing to you guys in this video, in this live stream. We'll get your reaction as usual in the live chat if you're watching this live. Of course, this video is going to get demonetized as usual because every time we show any sort of sensitive footage or some sort of clash, we completely get demonetized. But we have to talk about the truth. We have to talk about the troubles we are facing in Europe. Not just in Europe, of course. I saw a couple of comments in the live chat before they actually started the live stream. Some people don't understand life, I guess. They were listening to the last video we did, which I was talking about how the death of Europe, as Douglas Murray calls it, is already getting here. But it's not as easy to completely take over America when it comes to Islamism. America has other problems, of course, when it comes to diversity and the far left. But some people were saying, oh, well, my idealizes the US. Like, the US is an absolute mess. Again, look at the BLM riots in 2020. Look at the current situation with the criminals coming from Mexico and the Mexico border. The whole thing is a mess. But more patriotic Americans are willing to stand up for the country right now, and compared to a lot of Europeans in Europe. In this video, we're talking about France. Let's talk about this. Let's see what happened last night. So, there was a clash. Not really civilized. Even when it comes to the standards of the French, this was not really nice. Because one person was about to be deported, and the other migrants decided to, and a lot of the far left also got involved with this clash, and the police. We're going to talk about the details. First, let's go to the videos that we have. Then we're going to explain exactly what we are dealing with, what happened last night at the airport in Paris. Let's go to the first video. Yeah, okay. In case you don't know what happened, there was an activist who has been deported, well, a so-called asylum seeker, a Kurdish asylum seeker, Firas Korkmaz, in France. This is what the, their supporters were saying. This is what they were wording it like. That Firas was forcibly transferred and then to be obviously deported back to Turkey, where he risks prison and torture, right? And we know the big problem when it comes to the Kurds and the Turkish government. We're not undermining that. But they said we stood alongside the Kurdish activists and communist senators to demand respect for the right to asylum. Okay, the rule of law matters. If the French government have legally decided that this person, regardless of the differences between the Kurds and Erdogan's idiotic authoritarian government, you do not go to the airport and try to do by force any sort of blockade. We don't do that here. This is supposed to be civilized Europe. It's supposed to be. I don't really care. Generally speaking, I'm not on Erdogan's side. You know, I have a big problem with the Turkish establishment. But when the third world bring their problems here and they have fights on our streets, they bring their problems, they bring their fights here, and then we have to deal with that. And the communists, and the far left, and those with the pro-diversity nonsense, and the wishy-washy politicians, the so-called centre-right politicians, we're sick and tired of centre-right. Stop the centre-right nonsense. We need someone robust right now. Someone who actually stand up for our values, and basic rule of law, respect rule of law. Now, I can understand. I don't even know this guy properly. He might get into a lot of trouble. Going to Turkey. He's a Kurd. He's a Kurdish activist. Fine. But if the French government have already decided, nope, something's gone wrong with asylum, he has to go. He has to go. You do not go to the airport and cause disruption. We've had the same thing here in London. There were elements of Kurdish Iranians and the anti-regime Iranians having a fight with the pro-regime Iranians in London. It was disgusting. Obviously, I'm on the side of anybody who wants freedom, including the Iranians who are fighting against Islamic occupiers. But you do not bring your fight in our countries in the West. You don't do it here. Wherever you belong to, you fight for that. I'm a Brit. I will fight here for British values. If I was Iranian, I would go to Iran and fight in Iran. But I'm not, obviously. Ethnicity-wise, I'm Persian, obviously, but not nationality-wise. If you're a Kurd, fight your own fight. If you want to be French, fight your own French fight. The French communists, what are they doing? Fueling the whole thing. Let's go to the next video. Again, there are situations where as a human and as a pro-freedom human, I will be on a certain side. So there is, for example, the guy in Sweden, who I believe he was from Iraq, and decided to burn the Quran. And obviously we showed you guys on his channel. He's been deported from Sweden, right? But that's unfair because they are literally deporting him because he offended the Islamic community. Before that incident, he was fine. The Swedish government were fine with it. So what do we do about it? And we got Tommy Robinson and a few others, and also the Swedish conservatives. They were getting together to do a campaign to raise awareness to stop his deportation. That's how you do it. You do not go to the airport and cause chaos, no matter what the situation is. Again, if you're going to fall for the trap of the far left, what do you really think? Do you really think that the far left in the airport getting involved was because they care about people getting deported? Of course not. They just want destruction. It's like the globalists. So, we have this. A wild demonstration or action against the expulsion of a Kurdish national to Turkey. Obviously, that was last night. Yeah, well, yesterday, 2:30 p.m. Several Kurdish demonstrators attempted to force roadblocks to prevent the expulsion, provoking an altercation with airport staff. 3 of the agents, unfortunately, were injured, according to the information we received. Several communist elected officials from the city of Paris were also present. Of course they were present. To demand respect for the right to asylum, believing that the expelled man risked prison and torture. Probably true. But does that actually justify that sort of action? As shown in the post published on their social networks. The expulsion finally took place. There was no arrest. There was no arrest. Indicates we saw the videos, right? And I've been very, very generous when it comes to the French police compared to the British police. The French police have always been robust, right? At times, very authoritarian. No arrest. How? What happened there? Who put pressure on whom? Are they scared of certain communities to rise up again in France? I mean, they do have a lot of problems on a regular basis. From all angles. If you think problems in the UK is bad, look at places like France and Germany. Look at the different, again, because of multiculturalism, a lack of any support for their own national identity, and also even in terms of their racial identity. It still matters. The French racial identity and the Germans. They have problems in Germany, not just from the Turkish community, and we have problems from, of course, the other Islamic communities, and everything's happening. And of course, again, we have all these so-called Western moderate Muslims and Jews and Christians coming out to say migrants, good migrants, saying we don't stand for this. Well, speak out. You need to promote harmony. You need to promote peace. You need to promote freedom. You have to stop this division, stop the lies, stop creating tensions, and stop falling for the far left, because that's exactly what they want to do. They want to create more division so that they could do destruction and they could start from scratch. And that's also what the Western globalist elites also want. Because if you completely destroy harmony, if you destroy national sovereignties and any sort of unity within our communities, all of us, then you can start from scratch. And people will be dependent on the state, because someone will have to save you, right? You could have Bill Gates or Klaus Schwab coming to you saying, well, we could be your new protectors. We could bring new peace. Really? Well, I don't want that sort of peace. when it's completely controlled, based on destruction, which was caused by division and hate. They are funding these groups. People like George Soros continue to fund groups that are, again, the extremists, the Islamists, and the far left, everybody. Open Society, and many other groups as well. Instead of tackling that, our establishments are completely wishy-washy nonsense. We have center-right parties, right? Look at the Republicans in France. Look at the so-called Conservative Party in the United Kingdom. Look at the Republicans in America. The rhinos. Are they actually conservative? Are they actually nationalists? Don't think so. CDU in Germany. Oh yeah, the Christians, the conservatives. Sure, I believe that. Angela Merkel, conservative. Really? Centre-right. Really? They're all as bad as each other. Anyway, first super chat of the day about the live stream. Thank you, Chloe Page, saying you should write a book, Maya. I'm too lazy. Actually, there is a book that I kind of started about 2 years ago. It's actually kind of good concept. It's about exactly where we're going as in terms of the Western civilization from a perspective of someone as an outsider, because I could never claim to be an Anglo-Saxon. I could never be an Anglo-Saxon, but I'm a Brit. And even the foreigners who want to be grateful for where they are now, they have to fight alongside the nationalists and the natives. And it's supposed to be about that. Mikhail says, Persians, why are we talking about Persians? Persians wanted Jews expelled and killed at one point. Now they defend. No, they didn't. Where is this coming from? The Persians and Cyrus the Great literally freed the Jews from Babylon. It's literally in the Bible as well. The Persians are always allies to the Jews, apart from obviously the period we now have had since 1979. But that's not obviously the Iranians, that's the Islamic occupiers in Iran. Otherwise, it was only the Persians that basically liberated the Jews at that time, when everybody else, and the Roman Empire and the Babylon before that, wanted to completely destroy them and expel them. I don't know what's going on in our schools these days. I'm so worried about the education system. Base Beagle says, apostates are being denied asylum in Sweden by Islamists working there, sending them back to their deaths. Exactly. And again, I'm not trying to be mean about this specific Kurdish person who was actually deported back to Turkey, because he might have been a good person, and obviously the Turkish government are a bunch of nutters, but you still do not cause chaos at the airport. National security concerns are real problems. And again, you have to fight the bigger fight. We literally had people, as this person just said, Base Beagle, they've infiltrated our establishments. They put pressure on the establishment. So in Sweden, for example, as an example, and the UK, local councillors, soon more MPs, and people working in the Metropolitan Police and the Border Force who want to go against our interests. And they are the ones. Look at the Home Office. The civil servants, certain civil servants in the Home Office who literally proactively and vocally said, we are not going to help with deportations. They were blocking deportations, still blocking deportations to Rwanda or to the original countries. Reza Shah Pahlavi, the first of the Pahlavi dynasty in Iran, sided with Adolf because of the so-called Aryan race. Okay, there was a problem there. He didn't side with the Germans because, well, first things first, let's not forget about the timing of it. Iran, like Switzerland, decided to stay neutral. The problem was the rest of the Persian establishment, the Iranian establishment, under even Reza Pahlavi, were weak and feeble because we literally allowed the Germans to use the land to go through, which was bad. And then they had, what else? Then afterwards, they allowed the Russians, communist Russians, and then the Brits take over the north and south. Iran was supposed to be neutral like Switzerland. They didn't take sides. They were just completely played by all sides at the same time. That was weak and feeble leadership. That was weird. But no, of course, there was always a connection in terms of the Aryan race. Of course, Adolf ruined the whole thing because Aryan meant Iranian. And those, the Indo-Persians who essentially escaped Persia because of Muhammad and his gang when they went to Iran. A chunk of them went towards East and India, and a chunk of them went west towards Europe, and they obviously ended up in now what we call Germany. But then they ended up having babies with Scandinavians and the blondes, and then they're like, well, the Aryans are blonde. Like, what? Only after they start having babies with the blondes from Scandinavia. Aryans were not blonde before. What are you talking about? Adolf ruined the whole thing for everybody. Anyway, Richard says Britain and the Soviet Union invaded Iran. Yeah, exactly. That's the Soviet from the north, the Brits from the south. And then Adolf was like, can we be friends? Like, no, they wanted to stay neutral. The whole thing was a mess anyway. Also, history is history. Right now, you have to see where you are now as a country, as peoples. British people watching this, Americans watching this, Germans watching this. Fight for your values now. Throughout history, we've done good things and bad things. Stop being obsessed with the sins of the ancestors, or even the success of the ancestors. Some nations, like the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Persians, the Iranians, they are still obsessed with the nostalgia of the pride that they had. But look at you now. What are you going to do about your countries now? I don't care what you were doing 2,000 years ago. That's nothing to do with you. That was your ancestors. Move on. Learn from it and do something about it. Nostalgia. Oh. Anyway. Vlad says, too late, everyone. Europe is over. Finished. Oh, look at this. We have a troll. Tutsi is spreading hate and divisions in the communities. Stop the lies. Where is the evidence? What are you talking about? I literally did a rant against division and hatred. Just because you disagree with something doesn't mean it's hatred or divisive. That's just disagreement. It's the same thing with the liberals. You say one thing, like, you're far right. Fine, I'm far right. What are you going to do about it? And they say you're racist. Fine, I'm racist. What's your point? Is that the best you could do? They use these words to shut you up. If they call you any of those words, just say, what's your point? Because they want you to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not. Never be defensive. Never explain, never apologize. Not that we are some sort of like lunatic, authoritarian hard right. I mean, we kind of need some sort of hard right leader to actually be hardcore. We're not far right. We've been right so far. Oh dear. Sassy girl. Love that name. Saying the Persians know their history, even though the Islamists try to erase it with a coup. This is actually a fascinating point. I mean, we're not going to talk much about the whole Iranian stuff, but I'm fascinated by the new generation, the younger generation in Iran. It's closed. The history books have changed. They don't teach history. But the Iranian kids now, they know more about the Iranian history than previous generations. I don't know how. I mean, the internet helps, but they are very willing to seek. Do we have that passion in this country when it comes to young English British kids? Do we have our kids proactively going to dig deep into history about what happened in Angloland over 1,000 years ago? No, they just go to school. They get fed whatever they're fed by their woke teacher, and they move on. And all they find out is Henry VIII had 6 wives, and Richard III, lost his head. And it's all about the gimmicky stuff about history, not the actual stuff. If a bunch of Iranian kids in a country that they need VPN to access proper internet, and they don't have access to the rest of the world, if they can find more information about their own history, why can't we? What's this? Chris says, you are not going to mention that, do you? Firstly, that's not a sentence. If you're doing are, you can't say do. Also, where is the rest of the comment? Hang on, I have to scroll up. What is this person saying? I don't know why I care, but I'm guessing this person is unhappy. Oh, there we go. What's this? Is that a sentence? I'm an Muslim person from the continent. But that is not English. What is happening? If you want to type it again, I will respond. I don't know what's going on. Is everybody on beer tonight? What else do we have? Mitch says, having watched a number of your videos, I have come to the conclusion that we live in a time where intelligent people are silenced so that stupid people won't be offended. Ooh, that is a good way of saying it. Basically. Well, and the rest of the intelligent people are choosing to be silent. Let's not forget. It reminds me of Oprah and Meghan Markle, where you silent or where you silenced. Dramatic idiot. But that is a good point. Thank you, Mitch. And Julie Davis says, Tutsi is a breath of fresh air and speaks from the heart and the truth. Bless him. Good stuff. Keep it up. The truth. Thank you. Now they're going to think I paid you to say that. Thank you. Again, he's still typing, this Chris person, out of context messages. I can only see that half of it. He ignores that, right? Where is the rest of the comment? If you want me to respond something... Oh, there we go. What's this? People in Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, Denmark... That's not Denmark. That's D3N ARC. Are sick of Iranian immigrants. Everyone's sick of Iranian immigrants. I am sick of the Iranian immigrants. We are troublemakers wherever we go. We integrate. We become Western. We work hard. We like freedom. We like our beer. We like our bacon. We are terrible, terrible immigrants. How dare we? We are selling out to a better life in the West. Deport every Iranian. That's my new policy. Terrible people. Angels of Death is here finally. I haven't seen you in ages. I don't know, maybe I haven't seen your messages. One of the regulars saying, hello, Maya, good evening from the British Empire. One of these days, Angel, one of these days, I shall lead it. Yeah, again, Iranian immigrants were troublemakers, so why not? Broken Prophet, yeah, then D3, and that is not Denmark. I know, I love that. That's a good joke. Chris is on the piss. Nothing but the truth says, Maya, are you hiring security? Well, I definitely need security, but I just can't afford it. I mean, all these videos are getting demonetized. How am I going to... I can't even afford food anymore. I can't afford food, don't worry. Most of the money is going to the expansion in terms of 2CTV+. But, yeah, I genuinely don't think I can afford security because that's, like, full-time. Anyway, let's go back to you guys. Chris is talking to someone else. Yeah, it's like the guy a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember? Those of you who watched the guy who just sent me a very angry message. And at the end of the comment says, yeah, Alan, show this to him. Who is Alan? Stop talking to other people when you're leaving a comment in a live chat. He's talking rubbish, Maya. I think he's drunk. I mean, I hope he's drunk. That's the only explanation that guy has. Paul says, reporting on the filth does not mean that you made the mess. Exactly. I agree. Just because I'm actually saying what's actually happening doesn't mean I'm causing it. The division is already here. I'm not causing a division, but I'm just reporting on the division. Colin, 23rd of April, St. George's Day. Get to London. Are you going, Maya? So, obviously I'm going. I mentioned this in every video. I don't know if I can say it. Can I say it? But I might potentially be one of the speakers. It's not confirmed. So, I haven't... Yeah. Don't tell anyone. Telling the whole world. Don't tell anyone. But yeah, we'll find out what's going on there on the day itself. I'm going to have to get drunk before if I make a speech. Because, you know, I'm going to go full on Braveheart. I'm not sick of the Iranian immigrants. Well, I am. They talk a lot. They drink a lot. Nah, it's good. They're good people. Newton said, I love Iran, Persia. A doctor there stitched my face up. I thought that was... I hope that's a good thing. 2C, you have the freedom. You have the freedom to seek asylum in this country. Why do you deny others? I did not seek asylum in this country. Why do people think why do people think I'm an asylum seeker? I'm not a refugee. I came here literally on British Airways first class. No, business class. Business class, British Airways, straight to Heathrow, and came here. Showed my paper. Came in. I'm not a refugee. My mother was. She was a political refugee. She was saved by the British Embassy. And asylum should be very rare and should be based on exceptional cases. And we are lucky. My mother is lucky. And she always says, we're privileged. We have to be grateful. You can't just allow everybody to just cross the border illegally and say, hello, I'm an asylum. How do we know? How do we believe you? There has to be exceptional cases, rare cases. And smaller numbers in general anyway. You can't fit in everybody at the same time in a country. Because if you talk about those who just want to leave hardship, that's just called economic migration. That's different to seeking asylum. And I do love how I get all these different labels. It's like the last couple of weeks, it's been fascinating. I keep getting called different things. What was it? I became a Catholic. They called me a Hindu for one. One day I became like Hindu Indian for some reason. They're in the live chat. And then some other trolls were saying, I'm a Muslim. This. And then, I became a Jew one day, apparently. I was a Jew, and now I'm an asylum seeker. I'm everything, apparently. And says he said he grew up in a council estate in Lewisham. Yes. Well, why are we talking about my house? What's going on? Yeah, so obviously I grew up when I came here as a kid. We were on a council estate in Lewisham. Let's just say it was very diverse. I went to a very terrible Church of England comprehensive school. It was bad. But it was just what it was. I was still happy, and my mother was very grateful to be here. Everybody else was complaining in the area, but we still saw freedom and opportunities. In fact, in case you don't know, 2CTV, obviously we are launching soon 2CTV Plus, our new platform, alongside YouTube. Don't worry, YouTube stays. We're going to have multiple programs, as you guys know, and a documentary coming up. Where's the documentary? There we go. This one. Britain's Multiculturalism Myth. This is in production right now as we speak. And the idea of this is supposed to be, well, as you can tell, multiculturalism myth. Part of it is actually, I think the beginning of it, we went to Lewisham, where I grew up, and we actually speak to people there, and I'll talk about my background and where I grew up. I think it's important for people to know, if they're watching this channel, kind of know more about where I came from. You need to know your history to know where you're going. So this will be exclusive of our first original documentary on 2CTV Plus, which will be ready soonish. We'll be launching 2CTV Plus sometime in April, hopefully mid-April. We'll keep you guys posted. We're going to have multiple presenters, different shows. We're going to have entertainment. We're going to have debate shows. We're going to have educational shows, law shows, everything. And obviously, and all I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to be talking about doom and gloomy breaking news stuff. I'll bring you guys the news. Everybody else will bring you fun. Good cup, bad cup. That's what we're going to do. And again, we have to do this to grow and to expand, to fight back against mainstream media. And I'm refusing to sell out so far. So we need your support if you want to obviously sign up to 2CTV Plus. When it's ready, it's not ready yet. Don't worry. Some people say that I've already joined. You haven't joined. It's not ready yet. Anyway, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Maya TC, and we are the media.